I'm going to broadcast live now.
Okay. All right. Welcome to our Costa Mesa special city council meeting for Thursday, June 25th at 7 p.m. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Council Member or Mayor Pro Tem John Stevens.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Stevens. Madam Clerk, can we please have the roll by voice roll call? Are you there? You might be on mute.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Mar?
Here.
Councilmember Mansour? Absent. Councilmember Reynolds?
Here.
Councilmember Guinness? Is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Here.
Mayor Foley?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one special item. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title?
Approval of side letter of agreements and resolutions reducing employee compensation and benefits.
Okay, Ms. Price, are you leading the discussion or is Ms. Lee? You're on mute.
I'm not used to that. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Tonight we have before you a lot of work going on within our city. Our city manager is unable to be here this evening due to a family emergency. She's been our primary negotiator in a number of agreements that we have before you here this evening. And so we have Costa Mesa from our Human Resources Department, Carol Molina from our finance department, and Kim Barlow, who will be able to assist us in many of the questions that may come up in the dialogue this evening regarding these negotiated agreements. And I just want to take a moment to thank the council for its leadership and to thank our city manager and all of the staff in the city of Costa Mesa for their work, working together as a team to really address the budget crisis that we've got before us. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to actually Carol Molina, who will start off our PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Price. Ms. Molina?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. It's my pleasure tonight to present to you the worked upon negotiations with the various unions in the city, and with your leadership and guidance as we move through this time. Customer, next slide. As you may recall, back in March is when the city declared an emergency related to COVID, and that was quickly followed from the state governor and the President of the United States. This COVID impact has drastically impacted our general fund revenues, and particularly our sales tax, our transient occupancy tax, in essence, our hotel tax, as well as a lot of our fines, fees, and charges that the city collects throughout the year. As a result, our 1920 and our 2021 budgets had to be revamped to adjust for the significant revenue reductions that we were estimating and seeing at that time. Next slide. Cosima, next slide. Thank you. Just as a reminder, back in 1920, when we started feeling the impacts of COVID, we came to the council in April and provided two different scenarios that we were estimating at that time. The second scenario provided a shortfall of about $18.5 million. That was recently readjusted by $3 million due to our anticipated receipt of some of the CARES Act funding that's coming in through the state and through the county. The counties has already provided us an agreement to receive a little bit short of $1 million. The state, upon adoption, we're expected to receive about $1.4 million. And through our FEMA efforts, we're expecting to at least receive about $600,000 for $3 million. That $3 million, in essence, we were anticipating to be using from our general fund reserves to help balance 1920. So once we receive those dollars, and as we receive those dollars, since they are inherent related to 1920 COVID expenditures, would be moved back into 1920, therefore freeing up about $3 million to use for our 2021 budget. In 2021 budget, we started coming to you as early as May with a $29.8 million deficit. At that time, we came with the information that we wanted to do a multifaceted approach to balancing the budget. And in June, we came again a couple of times to show how we were quickly getting to balance a general fund budget. We used citywide department cuts of about $10.8 million. We anticipate using about $10.2 million of our reserves, and we're coming back with temporary staff furloughs of about $3 million. And this $3 million, in essence, is what we'll be discussing tonight. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a history. When we first started on the 2021 budget, we had asked the unions to provide a 10% furlough with the $3 million of anticipated receipt of general fund backfill. We reduced that 10% request to 5%. And we have been in talks with the unions as early as May 4th, and we have had multiple discussions with them to get to this point tonight. So I did want to thank the council and all of the union members for their hard work in getting to where we are tonight. At this point, I'll turn it over to Costa, where she will go through the details of each of the side letters that has been discussed with them. Costa?
Thank you, Carol. Before I start into each group, I did want to echo Carol's comments in terms of thanking our employees and our employee associations with their current workloads, and they really rallied around this initiative. And just as a general reminder, in some of these cases, we had contracts that actually are currently expiring June 30th. So we also took the opportunity to negotiate extensions with some of the groups. What we generally tried to do was in fiscal year 2021 was to keep that, or to get that 5% furlough or alternative reduction to incur the savings for this fiscal year. In fiscal year 2021 or 21-22, the goal was to keep everything flat. And then in 22, 23, and 23 and 24, if applicable, we negotiated moderate increases to some of the contracts. Had we not been able to reach agreements with the groups, we would need to bring forth an additional $3 million in cuts in addition to what was already cut. And that would include possible workforce reductions. So going into the first group of employees listed here, executives and confidential management unit, we have a 104-hour furlough, which is the equivalent to a 5% reduction for the fiscal year. No vacation cash outs in fiscal year 2020 to 2021. The provision of 100 hours of executive leave, and a temporary increase to their vacation cap, and some equity adjustments for the fire chief to align him more with the fire management analysis. For the unrepresented employees in our next group, the confidential unit, pretty much matches what our general employees get, which you'll see later. 104-hour furlough, fiscal year 2020-21. The elimination of Tier 2 vacation accrual plan. No vacation cash out in fiscal year 2020-21. And a Me Too clause for salary and benefit increases with the other groups. For the Costa Mesa Police Officers Association, we've negotiated a 4-year contract extension to June 30th, 2024, 104-hour furlough in fiscal year 2020-21. Association has asked for a reopener in 2021-22, another reopener in 2022 and 23 with the minimum of a 1% increase in base salary, Association reopener in fiscal year 2023 with a minimum of 2% increase in base salary, and then a retirement health savings plan city match of 1%, also beginning in fiscal year 2022 and 23. Next group we have is the Costa Mesa Police Management Association. With this group, we negotiated a 2-year contract extension to June 30th, 2024, a 104-hour furlough reduction for 2020-21, a 1% employee contribution to the RHS plan, which starts for them in January 1st, 2021, and then the 1% city match contribution, which will occur in July 1st, 2022. And then a reopener in 2023-24 with a minimum 3% increase in base salary. Next group is our Costa Mesa Fire Management Association. This group, we negotiated a 2-year contract extension to June 30th, 2024. Due to the nature of their job, they were negotiated a 5% reduction equivalent to a flexible benefit contribution for fiscal year 2021, as they are not able to furlough. And then a Me Too clause for any salary benefits adjustments in fiscal year 2022 and 23, and then fiscal year 2023 and 24. And then an adjustment to the sick leave accrual to match the CMFA group, which is the Costa Mesa Firefighters Association. For the Costa Mesa Division Managers Association, we have also a 104-hour furlough, 5% reduction in fiscal year 2020 and 2021, no vacation cash out in fiscal year 2020-21, the provision of 100 hours of executive leave, temporary increase to the vacation cap by 20 hours, and then a Me Too clause for a salary and benefits adjustment in fiscal year 2022-23 and fiscal year 23-24. For the Costa Mesa City Employees Association, we negotiated a 2-year contract extension to June 30th, 2022, 104-hour furlough in fiscal year 2020-21, the elimination of the Tier 2 vacation accrual plan, no vacation cash out in fiscal year 2020-21, a 2% salary increase in the last pay period of June 2022, the elimination of Tier 2 salary ranges, and we have 2 versions that we are considering tonight, which is one assumes implementation June 30, 2022, and the second version assumes implementation 2020-21. Increase of the flex benefit contribution by $100 per month as of June 2022. Safety shoe cost increase to $2,500 annually. Update of jury duty language, which is this cleanup, and then continued discussion on several other non-monetary MOU items identified by CMCEA. Costa Mesa City Manager, also looking at a contract amendment so that she may also participate in the 104-hour furlough, no vacation cash out in 2020-21. And actually, there's a correction here. She's getting 80 hours of executive leave and a temporary increase in the vacation cap by 20 hours. The Costa Mesa Firefighters Association, we're actually still currently in negotiations with the Costa Mesa Fire Associations. We've been discussing with them since May 4th. We've exchanged numerous proposals regarding a potential 5% furlough or equivalent. Agreement has not yet been reached, but we are continuously discussing with them, and we are hopeful to bring back a agreement in the next council meeting. And I'll turn it over to Susan for the recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay, Susan.
Thank you. So what we have before us in our packet is the approved streamlined transparency and labor negotiations fiscal impact analysis report. And I want to make a note that there is a revision to that report that is also posted online. And then we have the approval of the City Council resolutions for the unrepresented employee groups of executive employees, confidential management unit, and the confidential employees. And then we have approved side letter agreements for Costa Mesa Police Officers Association, Police Management Association, the Fire Management Association, the Costa Mesa Division Managers Association, and Costa Mesa City Employees Association. And we ask the council to approve the First Amendment to employment contract between the City of Costa Mesa and our city manager. And with that, I just, is there one additional? Okay, thank you. direct the city manager to continue negotiations with the Costa Mesa Firefighter Association for the 5% furlough or equivalent. And our intent with that would be to bring it back on the council meeting July 21st, 2020, with a final proposed agreement or plan to achieve the equivalent savings via department reductions, including potential workforce reductions. And I also just want to make a comment to thank the council from the prior meeting that we have received information from some of our council requesting to also furlough some time. And so, you know, definitely from our experience through all of these negotiations, it's the full city family that is participating in this, and want to thank the council again for its leadership, for its contributions in also participating with the staff on furloughing, and then to all the bargaining units that we've been working with over the course of, you know, several weeks, and to the staff that we've got here, Casa Mali and Carol Molina, for all of your hard work in bringing us to this conclusion this evening. So I look forward to direction and feedback from the council.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'll just take a moment to extend my appreciation for all of the amazing work by the city manager and her team, both of our chiefs and our bargaining groups who really worked around the clock in the last week to try to put together deals so that we could balance our budget during these unprecedented times. And we know that it's going to continue to be difficult as we move forward. There is no guarantee that we have finished even the first wave of COVID. We are still growing up along that curve. We're not flattening at all. And so we really need to be prepared that we might have a little bit more of an economic downturn over the next several months. So let's hope not, but we should be prepared. And I think we are with all of these new agreements that we have that we're going to be discussing. Any questions from the council at this time? Please raise your hand if you'd like to have the floor. Okay, seeing no one, I'll open this item up for public comment. And if you have a question and you would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand or press *9. I see no one. Close the public comment. Council. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, I'll move the staff's recommendations.
Second.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to speak to the item?
Yeah, here I got to put Louis down.
Madam Ma-
Yes.
and Madam and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I could just chime in really briefly. I do want to clarify that the stimulus funds that we hope to receive, and that if we do receive, will help to restore these cuts for the employees. That does not include the reimbursements for out-of-pocket expenses that we will receive from FEMA.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, it's been said, I think, by Susan, but I just want to reiterate it in stating the motion that how much I appreciate all the work that was done by the city manager, and the sacrifices that are being made by all of the employees, all the work that's been done by council. You know, it's really remarkable that these agreements have been negotiated at arm's length and in good faith for the benefit of the community to try to fill a hole in our budget under very difficult circumstances. And there's circumstances that none of us ever expected or ever wanted to happen. We never wanted to have these conversations or these meetings. We never wanted to do this, but we're all in this together. And you know, that sounds trite, and you hear it in every single stupid advertising campaign that's done by people, but it's true. We're in this together, and it proves that the team Costa Mesa is strong. We're together. We're willing to sacrifice together and work hard for the benefit of the community. So thank you. And by the way, I will say this too, is All of the department heads were great, but I can't emphasize enough that we couldn't have done this without and also, Carol Molina. I don't want to leave anybody out. Cosimo was great, but there's a leader of a team here, and it's Lori Ann Farrell Harrison. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here, but there are a small amount of city managers in this nation that could have pulled this off in a smooth way with the cooperation of the bargaining groups. You could probably count them on one hand. And by the grace of God, she's working for our city. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I pray for everything that works out with her tonight.
Mayor, you are on
Councilmember
mute. But
Chavez, were you the second?
yes. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens. I think you very eloquently said what I wanted to share. So I'll just make it a bit more brief and to the point. Thank you to all the staff for doing this with us. As a resident, I'm truly humbled that you are willing to come to the plate and come to the table and negotiate in good faith. I've mentioned before, some of us on council are taking pay cuts as well in solidarity, as am I. And I just want to say, I've always said this mantra, but I truly believe it. Like, we're a family and we're a team here in Costa Mesa, and we have a rough time ahead of us, but we're going to get through it together. And I just appreciate all the goodwill staff has given us. Thank you, everyone who negotiated. I'm very honored to be part of this team and family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mansour.
Thank you. Well, first of all, a couple things. I want to thank staff. I want to thank everyone who's been a part of this. I'm very grateful. I was supportive of some of this, but it takes time to review and absorb all of this. And some things have become more clear. I've had some more additional concerns. When we originally discussed this item, it was a cut and pay to help with the budget deficits, and I'm very grateful for that to have been considered by all the employee groups. That would have been a cut in their livelihood, and I understand and appreciate that. However, we've been using the term furlough as an opposite to layoffs, and I know I've asked staff on this, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but it's not a straight cut and pay. It seemed to me that some employees were going to take it would potentially be reimbursed for hours they did work, and some might be reimbursed for hours they didn't work. And so it seemed to affect different employee groups a little bit differently. But what's being voted on tonight is a reduction in pay or reduction in hours for 1 year. But if we receive federal funds, it will be paid back, and then pay raises will kick in for future years. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is not what was originally discussed. And it's not that this is wrong, that this has morphed as the process went along. It's that it has morphed without noticing the public on changes and with no public input as changes were made. And even tonight, it was mentioned that we're going to approve a revised transparency policy or revised transparency report. There's been no explanation of what that revision entailed. And so please keep in mind that all this comes to us with next to no time to review, and the public now gets to comment when it has already been decided by the council. And that, to me, is not a good process. So where's the public input before we decide this issue? And that's why the civic openness in negotiations, or COIN, it provided for 2 public hearings for the public to comment on. But that was removed by the council majority and replaced with a new policy that is supposedly to provide for transparency in negotiations, which apparently now is being waived. So I had assumed that that was being followed, but it was not. The council didn't even vote to discuss waiving it. It's only after an afterthought now that, oh, we have to flippantly waive part of it. And that should have been mentioned up front. So just a couple more comments. So what the policy that is now being ignored, what does the policy that is now being ignored provide for? It provides for an economic analysis of the fiscal impacts of each item and condition, and the analysis must be verified by an independent auditor. All proposals and counter proposals are supposed to be posted on the website for the public to see, and that could have and should have been done. And each council member and the mayor shall disclose publicly the identity of any and all employee association representatives with whom the city council members has had any verbal, written, or electronic or other communication, and that has definitely not been done. And lastly, the tentative agreement should be posted on the website not less than 7 days prior to the public hearing of the city council, and this item has been posted for 24 hours, and there were even some changes just now tonight. So all of this, while the private sector has 16% unemployment in California, and I'm guessing none have the ability to negotiate raises right now. So those are my concerns. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, you're on mute.
Councilmember Mansour, can you unraise your hand, please? Councilmember Guinness, you're up. And you're on mute too. We'll get the hang of this eventually. It'll be over and then we'll figure it out.
Recognizing the time constraints and trying to get this done in order to basically start saving money as soon as possible. I could see where maybe we would want to compress the 7 days. I am to maybe 5. I believe that what we've negotiated I'm appreciative of all the work that was done. I'm appreciative of our employees. I don't actually have problems with the agreements themselves, but I do have some concerns about the process, and also about the motion, because do we have a motion that we're waiving whatever Council Policy 300-8 completely? Are we waiving just part of it? Say we're waiving, if we waive the 7-day part and change that's not a problem to me. But if we're going to waive the part about posting all the back and forth, it's a little late in the process, but I still think the public should be privy to that. And also, are we waiving the ex parte disclosures? We do have the analysis, but I want to know, I don't really see that as part of the 11 things that we're supposed to be doing here, but maybe it is here. But are we waiving Council Policy 300-8 in total or just in part? And it seems like we should have talked about that early on in the process, particularly as things went back and forth. Normally, we would have had the analysis right then, and we would have had the posting of the back and forth for the public to look at it. So what are we waiving?
Okay,
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Councilmember Guinness. Just a moment, Ms. Barlow. So thank you for raising this for the first time. Ms. Barlow will address that issue.
To clarify,
Also, I would like to say that in terms of the ex parte communication, I'm going to go through each council member. I have spoken only to the Costa Mesa Fire Association president today in order to get them to make a counter offer to us so that we could have something that we could discuss at closed session. And so that's my only communication with any of the bargaining groups. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, have you had any communication with anyone?
Yeah, I'll answer that question in a second, but the motion, since I'm the maker of the motion, I want to be clear about it. The motion is to approve attachment number 1 as a streamlined version of the transparency and labor negotiations fiscal impact report. And then I had one conversation this afternoon with Scott Purcell of the Firefighters Association. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez, have you had any ex parte communications?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got a call today from Mr. Scott Purcell from the Costa Mesa Fire Association.
Okay, Councilmember Marr.
Yep, I've had 2 conversations this week with Scott Purcell from the Costa Mesa Fire Association.
Councilmember Reynolds.
I had a conversation on June 15th with members of our police association, but that was related to the Black Lives Matter and Defund the Police conversations.
Okay, well, I'm just asking about the
Yeah,
bargaining.
just wanted to share
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
that
Councilmember Guinness, have you had any communications?
No, I have not, and I'm not done with my comments either.
Okay, I'll get back to you. Don't worry, I want to answer all your questions. Councilmember Mansour, have you had any
No, I have
conversation?
not.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Barlow.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to make clear that while we were planning on having all of the communications back and forth with offers and counter offers up on the website today and available to the council, unfortunately, the emergency that happened for the city manager's family prevented us from completing that process. We do plan to post all of the requests, counter offers, and offers. We will hopefully be able to do that by tomorrow, but certainly by next week. All of those will be posted for full disclosure to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Barlow. Okay, Councilmember Guinness, did you have something else?
Okay, well, I just wanted to add that normally one shouldn't have to remind staff or remind the council to do things that are in adherence to a council policy. One only brings it up if you're asking to have it waived. It was not asked to be waived until just now. I mean, until just we got the staff report and there was a reference. So I would have assumed that we were in adherence with the policy. But in any case, moving forward, I am very appreciative of all the employees, not only for the concessions that have been given on the furloughs, but this has been a very difficult time with the COVID-19, working from home, working in a half-empty city hall, wearing masks, which we all hate doing, but we've been doing. And there are many staff members who have gone way above and beyond, even without this renegotiation. So I just wanted to express my appreciation in that regard. And I will tell you that there are people in the community who would be bringing in loads of fudge and chocolate chip cookies and everything, but they're afraid to because of the health emergency and they don't want to get in trouble. But employees know that you are appreciated, not only by the council, but by the community at large. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mansour, is your hand still up or you have something else you wanted to add? Because I want to get to everyone first and then I'll go back around the horn. Okay, so Councilmember, excuse me, just one moment, Councilmember Mansour. Councilmember Mansour, could you please wait? You don't have the floor yet. I haven't recognized you. Is there any other council member who wishes to speak to the motion before I go around the horn again? Councilmember Reynolds. Councilmember Reynolds, are you there?
Dang. Okay. Yes, I want to make sure I think the staff recommendation still left the two versions for the CMCEA point number 7 related to the tier 2 salary ranges. I think we need to clarify that. Was your motion to go with version 1 or version 2 or another?
Well, Councilmember Reynolds, I had a request to the maker of the motion. I'd like him to change it to what would be version 3, June 30th, 2021 for the tier 2 elimination.
June 30th, what was it? I'm sorry, Mayor, what was it?
2021 instead of 2022.
Okay, so in other words, it would be next fiscal year.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Does the second concur?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Reynolds, is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that was clearly defined.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Reynolds.
Anything else?
If speaking to the motion, I'll echo what we've heard from all council members related to the gratitude, one for all of the staff involved in leading these negotiations in a very short time frame, in a very stressful time frame, while continuing to do a very different job than you had been doing 4 months ago even. So thank you for everyone involved in these negotiations, and thank you to all of our staff and all of the association members for coming to the plate very quickly as we have to address a difficult budget situation, still with a lot of uncertainty ahead. So thank you all for your participation in this effort.
Thank you, Councilmember Reynolds. Councilor Mansour, would you like to speak again?
Yes, so I'd like to address Ms. Barlow's comments. I appreciate that stuff might be posted tonight. It sounds like that's after the fact, but it is after the fact. But the point I was making was that this should have been posted all along as we've been negotiating each offer and counter offer. Everybody up on this dais knows that. That's supposed to be posted for the public to see as we go along. There's no reason that should not have been made public to everyone. That's just uncalled for. And we should have voted. If you're going to change the policy, we should have voted publicly to change that policy. So it's just not right.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, did you have something else you want to add? You're on mute.
I just want to make sure that that everybody's had a chance to speak to the motion. Has everybody had a chance to speak to the motion?
Well, everyone but me. I'm waiting for everyone to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I just think that the last comment by
Or otherwise, I'm sorry. Councilmember Mar, did you have anything you wanted to say?
yeah, Councilmember Mar,
okay.
no?
Okay.
So the last comment by Councilmember Mansour is just galactically, disingenuous. I mean, we had plenty of time to bring this up. We've had many public meetings. We've been going through this process for months. He had plenty of time to raise it publicly and otherwise. He hasn't. And so now he reads this little speech and it's ridiculous. So I urge you all to vote for the motion and reject whatever's going on there.
Okay.
I'd like to.
All right. Council Member Guinness. Eventually I'll get to speak, but Councilmember Guinness, you're
just real quick. I'll be honest, I had not actually thought about it much, but one normally assumes that adopted policies are being followed at any given time, that one doesn't expect to have to bring them up. So therefore, as far as what's being posted, I would have had no reason to be looking on the webpage to see if they were posted or not. And therefore, I think it's disingenuous to say that this is a last minute thing, because why would one assume that we weren't following council policy until staff says we've got to waive a policy or we're going to substitute something for the policy? Because one would assume that policy had been followed all along. So it's actually, in a way, kind of jarring to find out at the last, to say, oh, how come we didn't tell people to follow our adopted policy? Well, that's just stupid, because I assume that staff follows adopted policy on everything. It's not my job to go around and remind everybody of the whole fat council policy book every day. But I think if the intention was to waive the policy, it would have been preferable to have an earlier notification if that was the case. So while I'm content that this was a fast moving operation, but at the same time, I don't think your accusation that it's unfair of someone to bring this up at this point is really justified, because why would you bring it up? Normally you assume that policies are being followed, so you don't have to bring it up. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mansour, you want to have another comment? Go ahead.
I'll just say that Sandy hit the nail on the head, so I'll just agree with Sandy.
Okay, great. Okay, I am going to support the motion, and I just want to remind everyone that we are in the middle of a pandemic and we're having an economic crisis, and we have had 2 days to pull this whole thing together. So this notion that somehow we're violating policies, we're trying to balance the budget in an economic crisis of a kind that no one has ever heard of in more than 100 years. So I feel that this idea that somehow our staff didn't do a good job posting in a timely manner, they've been negotiating these contracts every single day for 3 days, and we haven't had agreement until today. So honestly, this criticism of our staff as not following policy, it's just frankly offensive. This team has been working around the clock. They've been providing as much information to all of us as possible, as fast as possible, and trying to get information out to the community. We're having this public hearing. We had a public hearing on Tuesday where we had our closed session. And this is the first time that these issues have been raised. Even though we had a closed session on Tuesday, and we've had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, nobody raised this issue. So frankly, I feel like it's just some kind of a political talking point. And I feel like it is degrading to our team. And it's unfortunate that that is where the two of you have decided to go after what are incredible negotiations in an extremely compacted time period. 7 contracts renegotiated in a very, very short time period. It's unheard of. So we will probably have other situations where we have to move quickly because we don't know what's coming at us every single week with this COVID crisis. So I appreciate the rest of the council being flexible and supportive of our staff. I appreciate so much our team, all of you. Please thank everyone. Thank also the employees who have stepped up. And thank you to those council members who have joined me in taking furloughs as well. So I really appreciate all of you. And I know that you know that we're all a little feisty, and that's just, you know, what you're stuck with. But I think that we know that you all will continue to do the hard work and serve the public that you have been doing throughout the whole COVID crisis. I mean, it's incredible the work that has been done during this pandemic from home with limited resources, limited access, being creative about how to communicate with the public and how to get information out to the public. And then to also then have to turn around and as essential workers coming to work when it feels like maybe sometimes scary, I think that we have to not ignore that fact that many people coming to the office might be worried about that. And they continue to come to the office. They continue to do their job. And I'm just really proud of the work that we're doing here in Costa Mesa. And by the way, we are leading the effort here in this county, and all of the actions that we have taken in such a timely, systematic and consistent way to comply with the governor's orders, to have our own response that is intended to protect the public health. That's going to help us because the governor just announced this week that he is going to basically penalize cities who are going against the governor's orders. So I'm appreciative of our staff taking their extra effort to comply with the governor's orders and to, you know, try to keep our machine functioning so that we can continue to serve the public. So thank everybody. And with that, I will call the question on the.
I had a comment. I raised my hand.
You already spoke. I was the last to speak. We're calling for the question. We're not going to do this all night, Mansour. We're calling for the question.
It has been going on for weeks, and the buck stops with the council, not staff. And Ms. Barlow should know to post it. This has been going on for weeks. It should have all been posted for the public to see. You failed to do that, Mayor Foley.
I failed to do that. Would you like me to go into the website?
You're excusing it.
I'm not excusing anything. I'm saying that we have been working around the clock. There hasn't been anything to post. So.
Not true. It's completely false.
I don't think that's true. Tuesday is the first that we've heard of anything. And today we have contracts negotiated. So the final contracts were negotiated today. But anyway, it doesn't even matter. You two are, it's a red herring. Okay,
It's the
go
truth.
ahead. Make this your platform that
Truth.
in the middle of a pandemic and an economic crisis that we waited more than 24 hours to post something so that we could
I
cut,
didn't post anything
so
at
that
all.
we could furlough and cut
I
things
didn't
out of
post
budget.
anything at
Call
all.
for the question, Ms. Green. Call for the
Nothing was
question.
posted.
Call for the question.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Mar,
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour,
No.
Councilmember Guinness,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1 with Councilmember Mansour voting no.
Okay, well, thank you all. And we're out of here at a reasonable hour. So we will adjourn to the July 21st City Council meeting. Thank you and happy Independence Day for everyone here in Costa Mesa. It'll be a different kind of celebration this year.
And don't
Thank
blow
you.
off illegal
Good night.
fireworks.
Yes, don't blow off the illegal fireworks. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.